and welcome to Module 2 of your Social Media Bootcamp. Again, my name is Jocelyn. I am founder and CEO of J Flowers Marketing. I'm so excited that you decided to come back for day 2. Today is going to be a fantastic day. We are diving into content creation, most importantly, our storytelling. So, as a recap, yesterday we ended off with diving in and mapping out just some of those content ideas that we had in our content categories. We're going to continue to build on that. So, first off, let's go ahead and open up our workbook. And I want us to just take a few more minutes in that first section. Let's go ahead and journal some of our current content creation challenges. What are some stories that resonate most with your target audience? And what are your content creation goals? So let's go ahead and take about 2 to 3 minutes and fill in some of those journal prompts there inside your workbook. So excited to have you all here. All right, wonderful. So as you can see, the next section in your workbook, we are diving back into our content category pillars. So on the worksheet, you can see we have 5. Again, I gave you an additional one inside your JFM matrix. So I want us just to go ahead and what are some ideas that may have come to us after yesterday's session that we can continue to add in to our content category pillars? Let's go ahead and take about 2 more minutes and jot those down here in this section of our workbook. Amazing. All right, so raise your hand. I know I can see them in my mind. Who wants to create content that their ideal client comes running to you? Who wants it? Who wants it? All right, I see the hands up. Perfect. All right, perfect. So let's dive in to our pillars. So again, we went through yesterday really identifying what those content pillars look like for us. So we have our brand story, we have our tips and resources, we have our inspirational content, we have our core offers and services. We also do have some of our core beliefs, and maybe we have a few other categories in there. So now I want to talk about what are those content pillars going to be expanded on. So, one of the ways I like to approach content is I have a concept or a topic, maybe it's not fully fleshed out, and I look at, okay, how can I speak to my audience on social media with this content? Is it going to be a static image? Is it going to be a video where I'm talking for 30 to 60 seconds? Is it going to be a carousel where it's multiple tips with images? What is it going to look like? And then how can I build upon this concept? So, can I create it as a static image or carousel, but also record a video so that I'm getting multiple uses out of this content topic? Can I then write an email newsletter from this topic? Can I do a live video on this topic? Can I potentially do a training on this topic? So, as I'm designing content and thinking of these concepts, I'm always looking at how can I continue to build on these outside of just the initial social media concept. So, as we're going through these pillars and continuing to build on these throughout our storytelling journey and content creation, I want you to kind of think of those in the back of our mind. So, for an example, I shared with you yesterday that I primarily work with coaches. Again, coaches of all different industries and categories in the coaching industry. So, some of their pillars could be diving into mindset and confidence, marketing or business strategies, sales and money, the topic that always feels a little icky, but it doesn't need to. Systems and productivity, and then our client success stories. So, how does that fit into our different pillars? Every content that you create should be intentional. And it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be prophetic, but it does have to be intentional. Okay. So now that we've figured out what are our content pillars, I want us to dive into our framework. So in your workbook, I want you to take a look. So here's some examples. We have our hero's journey. Who's heard of the hero's journey? Raise your hand. Perfect. I saw some of you. And then we have, what is that problem agitation? So what's our problem solution? What's the problem? What's our solution? Another example is that before and after. So what's the transformation, that overarching goal that we take them on, that path, that journey? So let's go ahead and pick one of these. Again, we may have content that tailors into each of these frameworks, but I want us to focus on just one of them. So let's go ahead and pick one of these frameworks and start to brainstorm a story outline that we can do. So for an example, I'm going to go ahead and dive into kind of that, well, that problem solution. So one of the problems that a lot of my clients come to me with is they want to talk to more people. They don't have enough time. They may not have the systems to be able to optimize their efforts of content creation. That's why they come to me. So that is their problem. My solution is I create systems that not only optimize their implementation, but optimize their reach for higher conversion. So that's the solution I can offer them. And I do that through targeted strategy and consistent implementation. So let's go ahead and take about 5 minutes to journal this into our workbook. Go ahead and pick one of these three categories and brainstorm on that. Amazing. So let's go ahead and add our final touches to this framework. Again, you're going to continue to build on this throughout and even after these 5 days. But this is going to give you kind of a structure of how you can start to formulate some of those content concepts that we went ahead and jotted in yesterday, as well as earlier this morning. So, a great quote by Maya Angelou is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So that is something we want to take a big or make a big focus on when we are being intentional with our content, is how do we want to make our ideal client feel? Because those are going to invoke actions based on their emotions of that. All right. So, one of the things we're not going to dive into too much today, but I do want you to focus in on the next category inside your workbook. You'll see your visual brand audit. So, this is where you're taking a look at what are the visual concepts that you're creating with your brand. So, is it visually appealing to your ideal client? For example, with my brand, I love the color green. Now, it may not be the go-to color that a lot of brands or clients may be seeking out, but along with my brand story and ways that I've been able to explain why I chose the color green and variations of green. I go from neon green to those deep, rich emerald and hunter greens. Green is my favorite color. Green is something that invokes a strength, a sense of confidence for me. And so that's why I use a lot of green. But you'll also see red is another power color for me. It also complements being blonde and blue eyed. I'm also very fond of the color blue. So you'll see these incorporated throughout my content, but no matter what, you'll always see elements of green, whether it's in nature, whether it's in that quick pop of color in my content. And that's how people can easily recognize J Flowers marketing. S- So make this part of your homework today. Really audit the visuals and look and feel that you have for your brand. What are your primary colors? What are your secondary colors? What's a neutral color that you use? Um, what are the fonts that you're using in your content? These are all things that could be a very easy shift into creating more highly engaged and converting content. All right. So, what is the anatomy of a high performing post? We're going to break it down together. So, every high performing post has four elements. Number one is a scroll stopping hook. So, it could be a first line, it could be an image that, as someone scrolling, makes them go, "Whoa, what?" That's what we want. Ask a question, make a bold statement, share a surprising fact, have a funny video that really invokes that stopping motion. Number two, value packed body. This is where you're going to deliver on the promise of your hook. Teach something, share a story, give actionable advice that really makes them see the value of why they stopped. Three, please, please, please have a clear call to action. One of the things that I often see when people are marketing their business or services or through their content, there's no clear call to action. So we're creating confusion or creating just lack of action. So please make sure we are clear with our call to actions. Spell it out for them. Tell people what to do next, why to do that. So whether that's comment, save, share, click the link, message us privately. We don't want to leave them guessing on what to do next. And lastly, number four is be strategic with your hashtags or keywords. So social media is just like your website. We have to have keywords because when you go to that search bar and you're looking for something very specific, you're using keywords. So when someone is searching on social media for resources, tips, facts, services, they're using keywords. So make sure in your hashtags, you are taking a look at what those keywords are because those are what people are going to be searching by. That's going to put you higher up in that search engine when they're looking for you. All right. Next, we're going to dive into batching your content. So, again, take a look back at your JFM matrix. So, we kind of dove into this a little bit yesterday, where we were taking a look at that content calendar, starting to plug in some of our concepts. Now, how do we take a look at this calendar with these concepts and batch this content? So, now in our homework yesterday, I had you continue diving into that, adding additional concepts, kind of theming out the weeks. So, if you are looking at posting, I always like to recommend at least 3 times a week, ideally 4 at a minimum, because that's what the algorithms really like. They like to see 3 is kind of the bare minimum. 4 shows you're putting in just a smidge more effort in, and the algorithm sees that and they like that. And it also creates that consistency. So now we've kind of planned out our 4/5 weeks, depending on the month you're planning out, of content. So ideally 30 days worth of content. Now we're going to take a look and make a list. Out of those concepts, how many of them did we label as a static image? How many of those did we label as a video? How many of those did we label as a carousel? And really tally those up. So let's take about 1 minute to just quickly look back at that content calendar in your JFM matrix and see how many in each of those three categories do we have. Perfect. So now this is where the batching content really comes into play. So now you can say, all right, I know I'm going to need 8 static images. I'm going to need 3 carousels, and I need to record 4 videos that are anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds long. For some platforms, you can do up to 90 seconds in our short form. But then you'll also know, okay, what are my longer form videos I may need to do that are bonus content? So now you're going to go ahead and choose, how am I going to create my content? So we've already done step one of our process. We've planned it out. Now it's time to create. So there's a lot of different tools and resources out there for content creation. One of the ones that I always recommend to my clients, one, because it's user friendly. They have a free version, so it's also cost effective if you're new in business and trying to keep your business costs low, is Canva. You can create all kinds of things inside this platform, from static images to videos to presentations to flyers, whatever you need to create, you name it, it's in there. So for the visuals, I like to use Canva as my content creation tool so that I can go to work. One of the great things about Canva is it has ready to use templates that you can then customize to your look and feel with your colors, your fonts, your images, and go from there. So Canva also has an AI tool. You can plug in and use their AI tool and say, please create 4 quote graphics using this content. And you plug in those 4 quotes that you have in your content pillars, and it will automatically generate those images. Then you can go and edit those images. So you can customize them if you want a little bit of a different look and feel. And there you go. There's 4 images created just like that. Same thing with carousels. So you can continue to do that. You can also upload a video and say, I want to add captions to this video. Maybe I want to have an overlay, and it will create it. So Canva is a really multi-use tool that expedites that content creation process. Next, obviously, we have to have captions for our posts. ChatGPT, great tool. Bard AI is another great tool. That is Google's, basically Google's ChatGPT, that helps you really, if you're really targeting those SEO, search engine optimization, um, to get those keywords. So those are 2 tools that I use often, and those can help you write out your captions. Nowadays, you can train these AI tools to talk like you, to search like you, even design like you. So really leverage these tools. So these are going to start that creation process. So I want that to be part of your homework today, is really diving in and begin the creation process for your content. Now keep in mind, as you're generating these captions, think of those frameworks that we talked about earlier. So our hero's journey, that problem solution, the before and after bridge. What's the arc we're taking them on from start to finish? Think about that as you're creating your content. How do you want your audience to feel, to engage, What's that journey you're taking them on through your content? All right. Lastly is schedule, schedule, schedule. We all know once we've created the content and taken the time for that, the last thing we want to do is have to worry about manually posting and remembering in our busy day, oh, we have to post on this platform. So there's a lot of different scheduling tools out there that you can use. I personally, with my agency, use Metricool. Metricool is also an analytics platform, so it gets a little bit more detailed analytics than um, what Meta does for Facebook and Instagram, or LinkedIn even. So it pulls a lot more data that helps me not only brainstorm content, know what to post, not to post, but it also gives me customer data. Who's viewing my content? Who's engaging with it? Um, who's clicking through on links? Um, how are my competitors doing on similar content? So that I can see how is my ideal audience engaging with content across the board. So I really love that tool. Another one that you can use is Hootsuite. Now, some of these do have subscription fees, so really take a look at your budget for your business and see what do you want to invest? What are the features it's giving you to optimize? My go-to is always find a platform that offers you multiple different features. So if it some of them may have content creation in them as well. So Canva does have a scheduling feature inside it also. I prefer to have more the analytics side because again, I'm scheduling multiple clients at a time. So I need something that's going to be able to hold multiple clients versus just one. For you as your personal brand, you only need one. So keep that in mind. But this allows you then to set it and forget it. So you may hear that term a lot in the marketing world specifically, but this is how you optimize your implementation. So now you've created all of this content and you want to make sure that you're getting the best use out of that content. So by using a scheduler, you're going to be able to optimize it because a lot of these platforms will tell you the best time to post based on the platforms that you're on and using. And then it will automatically schedule them. So you're creating consistency in those platforms. Then your audience starts to get trained in, oh, I know I can expect content from Sally every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Jim may be posting Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. And they get trained in that. So then they're looking for it. Then they start engaging more with it. Okay. It's also going to give you the data you need to see of, okay, what content are my audience really engaging with? What are they wanting more of? What are they wanting less of? So all of these tools really help optimize your storytelling and content creation. Now, in your workbook, again, we're not going to dive too much into the visual brand audit, but this next section, again, all of these tools really help you optimize those fonts and visuals. So we want to be able to kind of take our time to look through those as well. Now, the question I always get is, Jocelyn, I hate being on camera. Do I have to do video content? The answer is yes. And you can do it. I am someone who doesn't like to listen to my own voice. I don't always like to be on camera, but I know it's necessary. Video content is still the highest converting content across any platform by far. Now, if you don't always like to be on camera or you don't always like to be the one talking in the video, there are ways to create video content that doesn't necessarily have you as the focus. It's not recommended to be the only way. It's called faceless video content. It's generally more AI generated or B-roll. Um, so you want to have a mixture, is what I recommend. So if you're going to be doing video content and you don't want to be on camera, try to do a voiceover. So it's still your voice explaining it, but there is a B-roll or AI video that is kind of walking them through what you're saying. If you don't mind being in the video, but you don't want your voice, you can have an AI voice, but then have you visually in the video. Have a mixture, and then you may have some video content that doesn't have you or your voice in it, but it's just giving them a visual representation with some tips or content on top. Um, that's giving them an idea of what you want them to learn and take away from that content. So, what are some important things to know about video content? Lighting. Lighting is crucial when you're creating video content. Right now, I'm leveraging natural lighting. As you can see, I'm not fully optimizing it because I do have some dark shadows on one side, light shadows on the other. But take a look at your lighting, okay? And it doesn't always have to be perfect. I always like to have it be real and raw because I feel like it's more relatable that way. But depending on what you're creating the video for, keep your lighting in mind. Also, clear audio. When I'm doing voiceover, I'm always using a microphone. When I am recording content like this, I have a desktop microphone for podcasting to really get that clear audio through there. Okay. And then please, please, please just be yourself. Your personality is what's going to really shine and help people connect and trust and build that rapport with you, whether it's through recorded content, whether it's through them joining in your trainings, whether it's through them showing up to an event and experiencing you live. Just be you because they're in a world of AI. There's so many things out there that are fake nowadays. Bring that human element to it. No one's perfect. Okay. So please be real, raw, and authentic in your content because generally that's what's going to be the highest converting content and it's the most intentional. So when you're recording content, do definitely think of those three areas: your good lighting, clear audio, and then your authentic delivery. Now, we won't dive into too much about the types of video content, but there are what you call your short form or long form videos, your talking head, or your B roll, which is more just kind of um, background video, if you will. That could be a lot of different things. So let's go ahead and dive into our workbook again. So I want us to take a look at your platform optimization. So again, we took a look at what platforms we're on, what's the type of content that we're sharing on them, but also we do have to do a little bit of research at times of what's really getting high engagement and generating the most conversion on Facebook versus on LinkedIn, or what's converting most on TikTok versus on Instagram. What is converting across multiple platforms pretty evenly? So we do have to do a little bit of that research as well. But now, as we are wrapping up module 2, what I want you to kind of work on today is really just continue to build out that content calendar, build out those concepts and start creating the content. So what are our visuals? Do we have to record content? And make sure we're labeling that in that content calendar so it makes it clear to us what do we need to create so we're not wasting time. Excuse me. We're not wasting time creating things that we're not going to need in this content calendar specifically. All right, as we're winding down, let's go ahead and dive into those journal prompts. So, what new skills have you gained from today's training? How has understanding your ideal client, your content categories, your audience personas, and content creation tools, how has this helped the understanding in creating your content and designing that storytelling. And what actions are you going to take after today's training? Some of it may be that homework, but what are you going to start implementing in your business and in your strategy that's going to help you put all of this together? All right, everybody. So again, make sure that each of these modules, so you are receiving not only your content matrix, you're getting a workbook per module, but then additional resources. So make sure you are taking advantage of those and downloading those so that you can continue to work through those even outside of these 5 days and continue to build on them as you get stronger and more comfortable in your content creation and social media marketing strategy. All right, everybody, that does conclude our module 2. I will see you in module 3, where we'll dive into that engagement. See you, everybody.